Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for coming to, I hope, what will be informative for everybody. It's straight from the Ascended Masters, so we can never go wrong with that. So just some notes before we start. So books are all online for free. This is mainly for the ones that watch on YouTube and BitChute afterwards. But the books are online for free, and there's audiobooks, and you can download, listen, or print them out. They're all there. And time for questions and sharing after the session. And we can open our videos and our mics. And so all the material here is directly from the Ascended Masters. And then for those that are just starting, there's from the website iamfree.co.za, which you can see above, there's the begin here button, which is helpful. And for those on YouTube, the links will be in the description below, and donations are gratefully received, if only obviously if people can financially afford it. And Sergio, beloved, are you able to can you do the opening invocation for us?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would love to. Thank you, Anthea. With mics muted, as suggested by beloved Lord Kutumi, let's all say, beloved presence of God I am. It is thy life and intelligence that enables me to read and comprehend and absorb that which is required of me. For life, I am so grateful. Beloved Master Kutumi, I ask for your feeling and your capacity to use this instruction for God's glory and mankind's comfort. We thank you. And now, great I am presence, take me within thyself. There instruct me and cause me to retain the full memory of these inner instructions. We thank you. From beloved Saint Germain.
Marvelous. Thank you so much, beloved Sergio. All right, so I just wanted to start off with this, which is really quite profound, and it actually came to one of our Good Hope Chilas and was, just straight into their consciousness, and it says, you are not sick, you just have past records to clear. And truly that is just a great truth, we know. And our beloved Saint Germain says, and one of his most famous statements of all, and the power of our attention, he says, where our attention is, there we are, and what we focus on, we bring or force into our world and affairs. And this is obviously so closely sort of linked to healing. So we're going to start off by reading something from beloved Saint Germain. So I've got quite a lot of sort of chunks from the books, but it's all just, I believe, so important and all related obviously to healing. So practice the presence of God, the mighty I am within, for permanent release from bodily disturbance. This is from Ascended Master Instruction. And he says, the two wings of the soul. It is said or conceded by those of orthodox opinion that angels have wings. I shall explain to you why. Determination and power are the two wings of the soul, not necessarily visible even to the inner sight, but they are there just the same. And where you recognize determination with its accompanying power, the soul may rise to any height of mastery. And in that recognition, draw the outer into itself, that there may be only one God, the mighty I am in action. And then he continues, the supremacy of the mighty inner master presence must be acknowledged by the students as real and true, and the students must acknowledge that they have the ability and power to practice that mighty presence in every act of life. The more the students practice the presence of God, the I am within themselves, the easier it becomes and the more they want to practice it. However, as I have mentioned many times before, the outer, in the beginning of the advancement, will find every excuse to try and get the attention on outer things or on the body, which in its ignorance it claims as its own. The only sure release from bodily conditions is to take the mind off the body and keep it off. So this is like really, I know, difficult for all of us sometimes when, we're not feeling so well, but this is the key. It's just so, it's repeated over and over by the Ascended Masters. He continues, if there seems to be something that needs correction in the body, put your mind on God, your own mighty I am presence, and hold it there until the condition that seems to need a remedial agent suddenly disappears. So Saint Germain refers to the remedial agents as anything outside of us, really. So this is why there is now and then a student who conceives the idea that there's nothing to heal. Because anyone who will practice this, the instant there seems an appearance in the body of anything discordant, and who will put the mind on God, knows that presence is the most powerful remedial agent in the universe. So that is really such an important thing. And then anyway, he continues, many, by the use of this application, will find instant relief from bodily conditions that seems inclined to hold the attention. This is, in reality, consciously taking the problem into the great silence, at one with our own I am presence, where there is nothing to heal because all is perfection. This is just as true of business conditions as for healing the body. In fact, anything that seems to express imperfection can be handled the same way. No permanent release from bodily disturbance can be had so long as the mind or attention is allowed to be drawn to the condition from which one wishes to be released. With many people, the same thing is true of denials, because the more they deny a thing, the more they bind it to them. For in denial, they are letting their attention rest on the very thing which they wish to release. So truly, to truly practice the presence of God I am, we must know that there is only one intelligence which can act, one power to use, one love with which to accomplish. You know by this, you have within the victorious conquering activity every moment. Thus, whenever there is anything to be handled, it matters not what, the moment it seems to have an appearance, using your wings of determination and power, say, God, my mighty I am, solve this problem and do it at once. I give you all the power where it belongs. I recognize you as the only activity. Therefore, this appearance has no reality and dissolves instantly before thy mighty presence. And I'm telling you, I mean, even with little things, I find that even if I've got sometimes like I woke up today with actually a little bit of a sore wrist, maybe I'd slept on it or something, instantly I said, mighty and presence, you take command of it. And then I forget about it, and then it just goes. So, and there's nothing special about me. So I think it just really is that it's instantly calling to our I am presence. This is from our beloved great divine director. And he says, in all the universe, there is but one power, one light, one substance, one intelligence. I am, the power of the Godhead, announcing its authority at your focus of activity in the physical octave. Remember, as you refer to the Godhead, use those words, I am. Do not follow those two words with any negative expression or feeling, because if you do, then in your call to the presence, you make that negative activity tremendously more powerful in your life. Do not ever say, I am sick, I'm broke, or limited. Do not do it, because then you qualify the power with which you are calling forth to produce that very quality and experience for you. So that is it. We never ever say those things. We instantly call to our I am presence. So instead, to every expression of pain in the body, limitation of finances, or limitation of any kind whatsoever, say to such appearance, you have no power. I know my own God presence, my mighty I am. I know there cannot act in my world any limiting thing any longer. If there is pain in the body, say to that pain, be silent. Mighty and present, sweep out cause and effect of this, then feel it. Do it, and you will be commanders of your bodies in no time. So, yeah, it's like that. And then our beloved Saint Germain says, now, dear students, do you see that when you say I am sick, you are just reversing this principle of life, which is naturally all perfection, thus requalifying it by your willful ignorance with something which it never actually naturally possessed. Through long centuries of willful misunderstanding, humanity has charged the very atmosphere about them with falsehood and unreality. For I need not say to you that when you say I am sick, it is an abject falsehood in respect of your divinity, which cannot be sick. Does this sound harsh to you? Then I say, think it over, and you will see what a blessing and a release it can be to you. I say to you, dear students, in the name of God, stop using these wrong expressions of your Godhead, of your divinity, for it is impossible for you to have freedom as long as you continue to do it. I cannot speak of this to you too often, that when you really recognize and accept the mighty presence of God in you, there are positively no adverse conditions. Stop, I say to you, giving power to the outer conditions, persons, places, and things. So there we have, they're all saying the same thing. Now, this is also very important for us to remember. So illumination of the mind, so the individual stops the cause, is the first step to permanent healing. So that was from Voice of the I Am in 1936. And it said, if all who work to heal human bodies could but realize that illumination of the mind, so the individual stops the cause, is the first step to permanent healing, they would never use any energy to heal unless the mind could be illumined too. This is more important than the individual can possibly realize, and the Ascended Master will never use any energy to heal unless through that healing, permanent illumination can expand. So that also, I always know that they've said right from the beginning, whenever people call for healing, it's absolutely essential first to call for the illumination. And often we know that people, the healers, for instance, might be healing somebody who knows nothing about their I Am Presence or the Ascended Masters. So it can be said internally, but it must be called forth. I know beloved Delia, who does healing, she does it on the way or when people are on their way. She does it before they arrive, she says, which is very good. And this is what beloved Mother Mary says. Today, we see on the screen of life, as we measure each dear Chila, that more and more among you are those who apply the law yourselves. And this is magnificent, for it was not so in our time on earth. I say to you, who are particularly dealing with the activities of healing, will you constantly remember, while you are unascended, to enfold yourselves in the luminous presence of some member of the Ascended Master realm, before you even begin to deal with the problems and distresses that will come to your attention, so that you do not, as the Maha Sahib said yesterday, draw the distress into you, but rather locked, sealed, and insulated in my presence, or the presence of beloved Jesus, or Lord Michael, or beloved Saint Germain, you may then direct the healing currents into those individuals who need the assistance either from their own I Am Presence or any Ascended Master, calling all the flames and rays of divinity's kingdom with which you have been acquainted into those life streams to give the full assistance. So the Maha Sahib, it is what the Ascended Masters would call the Maha Chohan, who's now gone on to be the Cosmic Holy Spirit Aeolus. But they called him the Maha Sahib. It was often in the Bridge to Freedom books. So, and then she says, let me again remind you, although all of us have, first you must remove the cause and core of the distress at inner levels, where it is not seen, before you can have permanent healing here on the earth plane. So that's obviously where we use the violet consuming flame. And if people are open to it, people that come for healing, they can be taught about the use of that violet flame and their own I Am Presence, which releases it, and the beloved Ascended Masters. So again, it's the same thing. So because often, as we know, diseases come back again because the cause and the core are not actually removed. They haven't been removed. Even though people might stop thinking about it, it's still in their etheric records. So that's the great importance of using the violet flame. This is what beloved Serapis Bey says, the inner cause and healing of disease. He says, my beloved friends, the healing of the new day comes under an entirely different aspect of the law than all preceding service along this line, because we enter a new cycle wherein permanent illumination will outpicture as divine perfection, and the activity of the healing flame will be directed toward the dissolving of the inner causes within the life stream, which result from certain definite maladjustments in both mind and body. So we know as we're going into this golden age, that all diseases and all the limiting things that we've experienced over millions of years will be removed. It's all going to be removed. So that's why he says, I believe it's coming under an entirely different aspect of the law. He continues, science is beginning to realize that a great many physical and mental disorders are due to unseen emotional causes. Let me just see what did I say there? Yeah, that's right. I did set right, just set a block there. So let me just start again. Science is beginning to realize that a great many physical and mental disorders are due to unseen emotional causes, which rest within the consciousness of those concerned, sometimes buried beneath the reach and memory of the individual's personal identity. In other words, it's in their etheric body, which can come from lifetimes. So the increase of illumination flowing from the fifth ray, which is the emerald green ray, which brings truth and healing. So that's why it's so important to have the truth in order to have permanent healing, will open to the earnest and honest members of the healing profession a new understanding, which will require the blending of religion, meaning spirituality, and science, one of the integral steps towards freedom, which has been promised to mankind. To illustrate briefly, every organ and cell within the physical mechanism has a vibratory action of its own, separate and distinct from the vibratory action of its neighbors. Within the inner bodies, which is the etheric body, our soul, mental and emotional bodies, there are certain centers that vibrate in unison with these physical organs. Certain mental and emotional distortions within the inner bodies affect the physical mechanism in a discordant manner, so that the inner vehicles must be harmonized and purified in order to have a permanent relief from maladjustment of the outer self. So there again, we also, as we always told, the great importance of doing our very best to maintain harmony in our mental and emotional bodies. And the safest thing they keep referring to is just hand it over to your mighty iron presence. As we know, it's got all the answers, never wrong and always there. So when these inner causes are removed from the consciousness by illumination of the outer mind, the purification of the inner bodies through the violet transmuting flame, so that's the mental, emotional, and our soul, etheric body, and the cooperation of the personal self, you will find the distressing effect in the physical organism dissolved and dropping away. This is why the spiritual healing of today is more protracted, in other words, takes longer than in earlier days, but it provides a vast field of experimentation by the live stream interested in raising the cover on this tremendous science, which with the desire to join one's forces with the cosmic movement of the age, and by application to manifest the proof of the law presented. There we have it. An intelligent understanding of the mechanism, of the mechanics of the physical form in relation to the other three lower bodies will enable you to become more valuable to the hierarchy and to mankind in the treating and dissolving of the cause behind the appearances of imperfection. So I think that's particularly relevant for all the healers. All right, so this is from Beloved Saint Germain in volume 3. He says, feelings of hate or resentment are very dangerous and must be immediately stopped and put into the violet flame. He says there is perhaps no single element responsible for so many diseased conditions of body and mind as the feeling of hate sent out to another individual. There is no telling how this will react upon the mind and body of the sender. In one, it will produce one effect, in another, still a different effect. Let it be here understood that resentment is but another form of hate, only to a milder degree. So that's why there we go again. We nip it in the bud, knowing that if somebody's caused us distress, sometime, somewhere, somehow we have caused it. It's never, as the beloved great divine director says so often, it's never about the other. It's just always whatever we have sown, we reap, having gathered more. So this is from beloved Virgo, the great goddess of the earth, beloved Virgo, undue attention given to the physical body. And I think this applies to a lot of people, but I'm sure me too. So through the flame in your heart, you must become the dignified, balanced, poised master of your emotional, mental, etheric, and physical bodies. As the children will, those bodies will, as the children will, those bodies will clutch at you for more than their share of attention, particularly so when they have been indulged for untold centuries of time. The beloved Saint Germain has told you that a chronic disturbance within the flesh body is positive proof that the physical form has been given undue attention through the ages. So there it is, huh? And it's so important. This is what beloved Almora says, gratitude. This is lovely. This is a lovely thing to do when we're in meditation, is actually scan our body, I think, and just go through all the different organs and just say thank you. Thank you to all those little inner workers that constantly work to do their best to bring our bodies, and keep our bodies good. So this is what he says. There could be no illness of body if the individual were grateful enough for the service of the elements within that body. There could be no illness of mind or emotions if the individual were grateful for the God intelligence and the substance of feeling learned to him by the cosmic creator. Ingratitude has brought about all forms of distress, and self-pity is one of the most grave insults to life, which is constantly pouring forth its gifts to man far, far beyond his merits. There we have it, self-pity. Saint Germain says it is probably the most grievous of all the emotions. Self-pity, because we've created it. And this is from beloved Archangel Michael. And he says, he's speaking on loving every little inner worker, which we were talking about early, of our earthly bodies into the perfection that they once were. Even the tiny little electrons that swing around the polarized center of each atom in your physical body are infinitesimal figures, and it is but the accretion around them that shuts in their beauty and their natural light. When you become accustomed to visualizing your body as such, a countless number of these intelligent selves, it becomes easy to speak to them in love. Ask them to fulfill themselves in blazing light, in harmony and beauty of expression, in healing and purification of the envelope which they make up. So there we have it. Speak to all the little inner beings. We can go through all the organs. And it's just a lovely thing to do. Visualize the light, bless them, thank them, and our beloved body elemental too. All right, this is from beloved mighty Helios. And we know he is head of the hierarchy of our beloved sun with his beloved divine complement, Lady Vesta. And this was actually from the 7 Sacred Weeks given to beloved Morgan Le Fay in 2022. And he says, your iron presence is one with mine. I want to remind you that you are part of the luminous body of Helios and Vesta. Now I ask you, do you want to be a healthy cell in my body? Or do you want to rebel and become cancerous cells? You know that cancerous cells are those that distort the harmonious pattern of a tissue and simply want to develop in a different way and apart from others. We could say that a cancerous cell is rebellious and arrogant, as it does not obey the divine pattern dictated by the body elemental. Likewise, when you are rebellious and unwilling to obey God's will for you, you end up creating disorder within the natural order of things. And when that happens, sooner or later, you end up destroying yourselves in your own discord. So true. This disease, cancer he's referring to, that creates so much suffering in humanity is a reflection of mankind's disobedience to the divine plan. Only when a larger group of students understand this and determine to invoke the cosmic light through decrees and visualizations to descend into human minds and hearts, dissolving every particle of the cause and core of rebellion, will this disease disappear? Because we know that the violet fire erases the memory. So people think, oh, they've got to go through whatever they're creating now. But actually, the violet fire can dissolve the memory so that we no longer have to actually go through the karma. So that's the great gift of the violet flame. It's completely erased. The etheric record is gone. So we don't have to experience karma. This is what beloved Lord Hilarion says. Healing is the science of love. And there's not one disease that cannot be healed. Control of mind and feelings are a prerequisite for this. Visualization, the use of the violet consuming flame to remove the cause, and working to continually maintain a state of harmony, love, and peace within are imperative. So that's why we know it's so important to have, to use the violet flame to consume the cause of any anxiety or any resentment or anything that we might have still in our etheric records that might cause us to to have diseases. So the Ascended Masters have said that 95% of disease is caused by mental and emotional disturbances. The effect is the disease. The cause are those mental and emotional disturbances. Lack of forgiveness, fear, anger, resentment, jealousy, sadness, self-pity, blame, and the myriad of human emotions cause disease in the physical body. So daily use of the violet flame is imperative to transmute these memories and set us eternally free from disease and disharmony. So there we know it. And this also is, so on the website, you'll see there's information about the chakras, because the chakras are going back to their original, the colors, but we're not going to do that today. So this is from beloved Archangel Zadkiel. Gratitude is the key for keeping healthy and youthful. Gratitude is the key. And he says, healing yourself and others. It is one of our petitions and fiats to the law that the young in mind and body learn gratitude for the gift of life and utilize the best years in the establishment of God's kingdom on earth, not waiting until it is mostly spent and hoping then to enter the gates of the eternal freedom by a few years of atonement. So atonement is at-one-ment with our I Am Presence. So then, when the vehicles begin to expire from use, there is so often seen among the most sincere and worthy Cheelers a sense of impatience with whatever organ, cell, or part of the vehicle that has functioned sometimes for 80 years because it does not function as it did at 18. But no, we can use the resurrection flame now, as we so well know, to resurrect our bodies so they are perfect, youthful again. So, and then he says, instead of impatience, pour the living fire of gratitude to those organs and cells, to your eyes and ears, hands and feet, to every cell and atom that has served you in this life. Within that feeling is healing. Be grateful, blessed ones, grateful for the use of life, grateful for all, grateful for all of all life, all that life which serves, Thus you resuscitate yourselves. Thus you can resuscitate others. Hundreds and thousands of individuals in homes and institutions of every kind and description who have no one with whom they can confide their fears of the unknown, and instead of the gratitude, which is a magnificent radiation of love divine, there is rebellion, resentment, fear, and hate pouring out from those places. So that's a wonderful opportunity also for us to send into all these hospitals, these institutions, prisons, all these places where there's this need of this transmutation. So human suggestions, this is interesting from beloved Serapis Bey, and we know so important too. In all respect to our beloved doctors of the world, the medical doctors and otherwise, we have records gathered from mankind where 37% of the tumor and cancer cases among the people come from the power of suggestion, for the feeling of the individual begins to accept it. So this was in the 1950s, so it's probably a lot more now. So suppose there is an accumulation of gas in the cells of the abdominal region, which causes it to become swollen, either within or without, and the condition remains there. The doctor or someone says, well, that enlargement looks like a tumor. If you knowingly or unknowingly accept that into your feeling intensely enough, it will produce that condition right then and there in that exact spot. That's why we never, ever get into, if there's anything wrong, straight away we call to our own presence. And sometimes maybe fasting is a good thing, but we instantly call to our own presence to take command of it. And then he says, I tell you, dear people, if you could for 1 hour with us see the effect of human suggestion upon mankind, you would know why you need to call the mighty iron presence to formulate that tube of light about you and use the violet consuming flame within it to keep you free from those things which reach into your feeling world and anchor there without you even knowing it. Oh, so many times those conditions anchor within your feeling world, begin to act and build, then later the individual wonders why that condition exists. And that we know is so very true. And now we've got a short little video here about we have instant remedies. We have instant remedies. We have the supreme God power instantly at our disposal. It is the power of our attention, coupled with the purifying power of the sacred fire. And we can, through our attention, remedy any imperfection the very instant that it presents itself upon the doorstep of our consciousness. We all have our own, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving, mighty I Am presence above us and anchored in our hearts, which will release the violet consuming flame of forgiveness and mercy when we call it forth. It is a mighty spiritual eraser. It is conscious and intelligent qualified light, qualified energy. This divine alchemical process changes all wrongly qualified energy into purity and perfection, as it was always meant to be, through the great gift of the law of forgiveness. And when released by our I Am presence through our calls, it goes into action to transmute and consume the cause, core, effect, record, and memory of the wrongdoing. If something is not forgotten, it is not forgiven, and we still carry the burden. Only the sacred violet fire will erase the scar from our soul body. It is not suppressed, it is erased. The sincerity and constancy of our cause and our desire to be forgiven and to forgive will determine the efficacy and the outcome. Through our many, many lives on this sweet earth, we have misused much energy that needs to be redeemed and set free so it does not present itself as karma in our daily lives. Whatever we send out returns with mathematical precision in thought, feeling, word, or action. Our power of qualification, attention, and visualization determines our path to health, happiness, freedom, and our ultimate ascension, which all must do one day. For more Ascended Master teachings, go to the website iamfree.co.za. iamfree.co.za. Lovely video made by Robin that does the wonderful, helps us word on the street. Right, so this is, we're actually going to, this is our last thing. So we're not going to, it's not going to take a whole hour this time, but I think we've covered quite a bit. So this is the episode of healing, and it's from beloved brother Bill, William Cassier. And he's got a wonderful book that is available, Miracles of Today. I think it's called Miracles of Today. And it's, it's just a lovely one. Anyway, so this is I just love it. It's the healing of the episode of cancer. And really what it just shows is faith. With faith, anything can happen. Faith in our iron presence, which is what Brother Bill had. And clearly those that called him to help also had this faith. So, and this is what he says. And he often used to refer to quotes in the Bible too, beloved Brother Bill. So with God, all things are possible. To you, my child, I admonish you, only believe, only believe. So Brother Bill, or William Cassier, he worked closely with the Ballards in the 1930s, and he then also worked closely with Geraldine Innocente and the Philadelphia group in the 50s. And he could have taken his ascension, beloved Brother Bill, in 1937. He was told through Guy Ballard, Saint Germain said that he had, that he'd fulfilled his divine plan. He'd balanced his use of life. He'd transmuted his karma. And that was in 1937. He stayed on and he said, no, I'm going to stay till 1985. And he was an old man and just so amazing. And so beloved Brother Bill, yeah. Anyway, so now this is what he says. He wrote these lovely stories, all true, obviously. While having classes daily in the city of Chicago in 1935, I received a call from Cincinnati asking that I travel there to assist in a healing. It was a lady who had terminal cancer. I agreed to go. Until my departure, I continued to pray. I took an evening train and checked in at a hotel and then called her by phone to let her know I was in town. The Kays, not their real name, were insistent that I stay in their home and that Mr. K come to pick me up. I said that I had already checked in and I had some letters to write, so it would be better for me to stay. No, you come to our house, and if you do, my wife will be healed. And then such faith was not to be set aside, and I agreed to be there in 10 minutes. I found the people to be friendly and willing to explain the condition, and willing to explain the condition, though I had no need to know, as God, my mighty I am, was the healer, not myself. I asked him to say a prayer after me, sentence by sentence, and we bade each other good night. Mrs. K was well known. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Mrs. K was well into the terminal time period of her cancer, and all of her skin was rather red in color. There had been an operation, and after examination, her body was sewn up. A group of doctors said there was no hope and advised her to make her peace. In my room, I called to the mighty iron presence to send a ray of healing through her body to dissolve that growth, which I demanded be eliminated, as it was not a part of God's creation. I do not recall how long I prayed, but I visualized her as completely healed. I made my calls to have that growth completely removed. I recall saying, "Be ye perfect, even as the Father in heaven is perfect." I also said, "Get thee hence, thou powerless human creation. I know thee not and refuse to accept thee." So there, he was very determined, working very closely with his iron presence. Finally, I went to bed and slept until 9:30 in the morning, as per my usual habit when I work late night hours. Besides, the night hours are generally cleansed of the thoughts of humanity by the Archangel Michael and by Astrea, who is an Elohim of the crystal ray. We know that there's a circle and sword of blue flame, bless them both. After having breakfast, I noticed that Mr. K had gone to work, and Mrs. K was nowhere to be seen. The kitchen door was open, so I went outside. Nobody was there except a lady clipping roses who was facing away from me. I took a chance and asked her if she knew where Mrs. K was, and explained that I was a guest of the K's. Now the lady turned to me and informed me, "Well, Brother Bill, I am Mrs. K." I could not believe my eyes, as the transformation was so complete. She was now a normal-sized woman with a beautiful smile on her lovely face. I wish to say to my readers that I expected a healing, of course, but here the God presence presented a miraculous transformation and healing all in one. Everyone should get on his knees and give thanks to God for his glorious perfection and creation. So it's just such a lovely story. And then, so just a summary of the points, I thought, for us to sort of, remember for permanent healing. I put them into three categories. First of all, illumination of the mind as to the source of all healing, which we know first and foremost is our mighty own presence. Instantly handing it over. And illumination as to the cause of the malady. We need to know the cause so we don't keep recreating it, but handing it over. So if there's habits that we've got to break, we learn to break them. So secondly, purification of the four low bodies, which is the physical, the etheric, which is our soul, mental and emotional. Constant use of the violet transmuting flame and replacing it with the perfection it once had, which is within the cells, but latent to be brought forward, and using the resurrecting, transfiguring and restoring flames. So that means, yeah, it is. So it's addressing all the bodies, but handing it over to our own presence and giving absolutely no recognition, just like Brother Bill said, no recognition of the imperfection, because it's not permanent and it's actually not real, because our own presence are in command there. But then we're also good to not to place too much attention on the physical body, but to feed it well. In other words, we're not going to feed our bodies with foods that are not good for us to eat. We're going to feed our bodies with clean, good, healthy, raw food is very good because it's alive, I believe. And the Ascended Masters do tell us, especially Saint Germain spends a lot of time explaining the great importance of eating a vegetarian diet, because with that, there's no fear. With with the fear, it also causes problems. I've just had a message here from Robin. I mentioned it afterwards. So the fear can also cause disease in our bodies. We know that. So that's why it's so important to be aware of what we're actually putting into our bodies, not giving it undue attention, because just as important is our cleansing of our etheric body, our mental and emotional management. Our beloved Paul the Venetian, the beloved Mahachohan, describes it as like four wheels or four tires on a vehicle. And he says if one of the bodies gets undue attention, it's like a tractor tire. And if the other one doesn't, it gets like a cotton reel. So then we have a bumpy road. And often it's the physical body that gets so much attention, like a tractor tire. And very often the other ones get a lot less attention, more like cotton reels. And so cooperation of the personal self, constant self-control, self-examination, and this means being brutally honest with ourselves, what is actually acting in us, and self-correction of these. We're constantly working on ourselves as well. And those for watching afterwards, please go to the website iamfree.co.za. And if you go to the Ascension Topics, which is at the top of the website, and you'll scroll down, there are lots of little boxes, you'll see spiritual healing for much more, and meditation on healing and decrees, because there's a wonderful meditation, which I probably could have actually done. I wasn't quite sure how long this was going to take, which the great divine director gave to Norman, actually, one of our beloved Sheilas, and where we go into this beautiful chamber and we put anybody opposite us, or any person or a thing, or even ourselves opposite us, if we've got problems that we need to work on, and using that violet flame is just a wonderful meditation. So that's in that in the spiritual healing page on the website. So much more information, and healing decrees as well. So there we have it, everybody. And I hope that was helpful. And then Robin has just said there's a major fire on Table Mountain at the moment, and I know there is. And so it will be a very good idea on Table Mountain in Cape Town. For all of us after this, maybe once we've closed this Zoom session, we can all open our mics and speak, and we can actually call in some help from the Ascended Masters on this, because it's very important for us. And then I was just thinking, Delia, beloved, are you able to read the closing invocation for us, please? Delia? Is she there? Maybe not. Drew, are you there, beloved?
Yes, and here I am.
Thank you so much.
I'd be happy to read it. Beloved, I am presence and beloved Master Kuthumi. Nourish the seeds planted in my consciousness so that the ideas entrusted to me become manifest flowers of perfect expression in my world and in the world of all my fellow men. Beloved presence of God, I am. Pour the light of thy great glory upon my consciousness and nourish the seeds planted by the masters. We thank you.
Thank you, beloved Drew. Okay, marvelous. I'm going to stop the recording.